She only wanted to enter the base that morning. But the two young soldiers at the gate turned it into the worst moment of her career. Because to them, a black woman couldn't possibly outrank them. What they didn't know was, she held a position far above anything they had ever seen. The rain wasn't falling, it was attacking. Sheets of water slammed against the concrete as trucks lined up outside the airbase gate. Two young white soldiers stood on duty, both wearing the same smirk, the kind that appears when someone believes they're in control. Through the storm, a black woman stepped out of her car. Her uniform was spotless, collar straight, posture firm. But one thing was missing. No visible rank. No insignia. Plain uniform. And that's where the problem began. "Stop! ID!" the first soldier barked. She calmly handed over her identification. He read it, then laughed. "Colonel? You? Nice fake ID." She didn't respond. Her face remained perfectly still. Not angry. Not threatened. Just trained. The second soldier hesitated. "Sir, let her through. She's—" The first one cut him off immediately. "No. She thinks she can walk in here pretending to be an officer. Turn around." The rain grew heavier, sliding down her uniform like silver streams. She took a slow, composed step forward. "I need to enter this base," she said firmly. "Oh yeah?" he smirked. "Or what?" Again, she didn't answer. Her calm silence only irritated him more. He stepped closer, blocking her path completely. "I said turn around." She shook the rain off her gloves, her face still unreadable. "Is this how you treat someone who serves this country?" she asked quietly. The soldier scoffed. "Someone? You're nobody. Drop the act." Around them, drivers and civilians waiting at the gate watched the confrontation unfold, unsure of what this was turning into. Then came the moment everything snapped. The soldier leaned in, inches from her face. "Cross that line, and I'll detain you myself." She took a breath. And crossed the line. The second soldier whispered urgently. "Dude, stop, she didn't do anything." But the first shoved him back. "I said stand down." The situation had reached the breaking point. The woman let out a tired exhale. Then spoke calmly. "I was trying to keep this simple." She reached into her inner pocket. Both soldiers stiffened. But she didn't pull out a weapon. She pulled out a laminated metal card and held it up. The soldiers looked at it. And froze. All color drained from their faces. U.S. Air Force, Colonel, Special Operations Command. Their hands began to shake. The colonel finally broke her silence. "Next time, judge the uniform by discipline. Not by skin color." The second soldier stepped aside instantly and saluted. The first stood speechless, crushed under the weight of his own mistake. Without another word, the colonel walked past them through the rain and entered the base. And as she disappeared inside, the only thing the soldiers heard was her final sentence. "Your commanding officer will deal with you." The colonel didn't slow down once she stepped past the gate. The rain soaked her shoulders, but her stride stayed firm, each step a reminder of the discipline that had carried her through wars, deployments, and command missions across the world. But today's battle was different. It wasn't against an enemy overseas. It was against a mindset inside her own base. Behind her, the two soldiers stood frozen. The second kept whispering, "We're done, we're so done," while the first clenched his jaw, fighting the panic rising in his chest. The colonel entered the main administrative hall. The room went silent the moment she walked in. Rank or not, her presence demanded attention. Without the badges, she looked like any other service member, but her confidence was unmistakable. A clerk approached nervously. "Ma'am, can I help you?" She replied with a simple nod. "I need access to the internal incident logs from the front gate for the past month. Unfiltered. No edits." The clerk blinked. "Why yes, ma'am. Right away." She hadn't come here just to enter the base. She was here for a reason. Too many complaints. Too many anonymous reports. Too many miscommunications at the gate. For weeks, she had been watching from a distance. Today, she had seen enough. As she waited, she stood near the window. Outside, the same soldier who humiliated her, Private Dawson, was pacing beside the gate, drenched in rain, gripping his rifle strap with trembling hands. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her history. He didn't know that she was assigned by the Pentagon itself after multiple allegations of discrimination surfaced from this exact base. All he knew was, he messed up. The clerk returned with a tablet. "Ma'am, these are all the logs." She clicked through them. One black airman stopped for random ID check. Then another. Then another. Latino drivers delayed for 20 minutes. Women questioned more aggressively. Patterns forming, silent but consistent. Her jaw tightened. This wasn't a mistake. It was a habit. She handed the tablet back. "Send these directly to the base commander's office. Mark them urgent review." "Yes, ma'am." As she turned to leave, a voice echoed from behind her. "Ma'am! Colonel!" Footsteps rushed across the hall. It was Private Dawson. He was soaked, breath shaky, eyes filled with fear. "Ma'am, please. I'm sorry. I didn't know, I swear I didn't, I thought." She raised a hand, stopping him instantly. "You thought wrong," she said calmly. "Ma'am, I didn't mean any disrespect." "Disrespect isn't the issue," she replied. "Your assumption is." He swallowed hard. I'm not racist, ma'am. I swear." She looked him dead in the eyes. "Everyone who mistreats others says that." He froze. "You judged me by appearance," she continued. "You spoke to me with authority you didn't earn. And you denied entry to a superior officer because you decided she couldn't possibly outrank you." His voice cracked. "I made a mistake." "No," she corrected gently. "You reveal the pattern. And I need to know how deep it goes." Tears mixed with rain on his face. "Colonel, please. I'm begging you. Don't end my career." She paused, just for a moment. Then she delivered the sentence he never saw coming. "Your career isn't my concern. But the people you've mistreated? They deserve accountability." He couldn't respond. His breath hitched. His shoulders collapsed under the truth. She stepped past him, leaving him staring at the floor, struggling to breathe. As she walked down the corridor, the whispers began. "Who is she? Did you see the colonel? What happened at the gate?" They would all know soon. And in less than an hour, the commanding officer would call an emergency meeting. A meeting that would decide Private Dawson's fate. The storm outside began to slow. But inside the base? A different kind of storm was just beginning. The colonel walked into the base theater, her boots echoing softly on the polished floor. The room had been cleared of most personnel, leaving a small audience of officers, witnesses, and the two soldiers who had humiliated her. The tension was thick, almost tangible, like the calm before a storm. Private Dawson trembled, hands clenched at his sides. Every officer in the room was watching him, silent but judgmental. His earlier arrogance had been washed away by fear. She stood at the podium, now in full dress uniform. The ribbons and medals reflected the harsh light, a stark reminder of her decades of service. She took a deep breath, and for a moment, the room held its collective breath with her. "At 8:23 this morning," she began, voice steady and commanding, "I was denied entry to my own base by soldiers sworn to protect it. For 9 minutes I was mocked, humiliated, and judged not by my rank, but by the color of my skin." She pressed play on the video recorder. The room filled with the sounds of Dawson's monkey gestures, laughter, and the echoing taunts. Every eye was glued to the screen. The colonel paused the video. "This is not a momentary lapse. This is a culture. And culture has consequences." Dawson swallowed hard, realizing that his life had changed in a matter of minutes. She turned her attention to him directly. "You had a choice. You could have shown respect. You could have verified identification. You chose to humiliate. His voice shook. I didn't know. Don't finish that sentence, she interrupted. You knew how to behave. And you chose not to. That choice has consequences. The room was silent. No one dared move, speak, or even breathe. I will not allow this to continue, she continued. Accountability begins today. Private Dawson, you, and those who enabled your behavior will face full military justice. Not because of my power, but because your actions harmed others and violated every principle we uphold. The soldier's knees buckled slightly, the weight of reality crushing him. He had mocked a superior officer, violated civil rights, and done so publicly. The evidence was airtight. Effective immediately, she said, her voice rising with authority. You are confined to barracks, your privileges revoked, and you will face a court-martial. Your actions today define your career. And your career, sir, is over. Dawson's shoulders shook as the gravity sank in. He had mocked, laughed, and degraded someone who had earned every inch of her authority. And now, in front of the entire base, he would pay. The colonel looked out at the audience. To anyone watching, this is a lesson in integrity, respect, and accountability. Rank does not grant immunity from the law. Power does not excuse cruelty. And history will judge us by how we treat those who cannot defend themselves. She stepped down from the podium. The silence lingered, heavier than any storm outside. Then, the first officer moved, signaling that the soldiers would be escorted. Dawson was led away, silent, broken, and utterly aware of the life he had destroyed in seconds. As the doors closed behind him, the colonel turned back to the empty theater, walking toward the window overlooking the gate where it all began. The rain had stopped. The sun was breaking through, illuminating the checkpoint, a symbol of transformation. She touched the bronze plaque that had been placed earlier. Enter with honor. Serve with integrity. Respect all who sacrifice. Colonel Anderson whispered to herself, almost like a vow. Justice isn't revenge. Justice is accountability. And today, accountability has been served. The camera panned to the empty gate. The soldiers who had witnessed the events earlier stood silently, processing the consequences of their own choices. Some faces showed relief, others shame, but all understood the unspoken message: dignity is non-negotiable. Outside the base, a new chapter began. Word of the incident spread across the military, social media, and eventually the nation. Policies were rewritten. Leadership was reminded of responsibility. The system itself began to change because someone refused to stay silent. And the colonel? She walked back to her office, calm, resolute, and already planning the next step. Fort Harrison would never be the same. And neither would those who thought they could act without consequence. Did this story touch your heart? Subscribe now and join our journey bringing real voices and untold stories to light. Comment your thoughts. Your voice matters.